Hello Acolytes and welcome back to After Plague. Today we are doing my August reading wrap up. I read some pretty good books this month that I'm very excited to talk about with you. If you would like to skip the journaling stuff and get right to the reviews, you can go to this timestamp right here. But we're gonna get started as usual with my reading tracker and book clubs page. My book is falling apart. I'm very sad about it. Next year I think I'm gonna do like a binder instead. So that I don't have to worry about the binding ripping on the book. As much as I love my little journal, I think I put too much stuff in it for it to survive, but we'll see. You also might notice that I did all the measuring stuff off screen. We're being efficient today. Now, let's fill in the dates for each of these. I think I took a pretty big reading break in the middle of this month. I was working really hard on some art stuff I needed to finish, so I would not be surprised if my reading graph here, my reading calendar, I guess, looks a little bit all over the place. Yeah, the thing that really slowed me down is reading Dante's Inferno, which makes sense. It's a very dense poem, very dense book. There's a lot going on. So it's not so much that I took a break, it's just Dante took me a really long time to read. All right, I think this page is looking good. We just need to do decorations. So now we'll fill in our book clubs page, which again, I didn't attend. I'm sorry, I'm gonna attend this month's. In fairness to me, I think one of my book clubs has been canceled. In fact, out of the 3 book clubs I joined at the beginning of the year, I think only one of them is still up and running, which is a bummer. I think the one that got canceled is Spooky Friends. It either got canceled or I got kicked out for never attending meetings. Womp womp. I've been putting like a little strip of the tea stained paper on the inner corner recently, and I like that. I think it looks good, so I'm gonna do it again. Put it from like there to there. Yeah, that's cute. Let's do that. And then the other book club did The Haters this month, which is fine. I wasn't really that interested in this book. It seems okay. I need to find a horror book club. I'm just worried, because I thought I was a bit of a horror weenie, but I don't think I am actually. Our TBR, which I did actually keep track of for once. And then of course I need to do my lovely decorative, oh, I bumped you, sorry. What uh-oh, I think this marker might be going dry. It totally is. Ugh. Well, that's a damn shame. I have a similar, slightly darker color. Oof. It's a little more than slightly darker, but that's okay. Well, you know, I'm not a huge fan of change, but it is what it is. And it doesn't like look bad or anything. So pretty full TBR this month. Big TBR this month. Could we even see? Maybe. Ta-da. I guess we do our stamps and then we decorate. Can you hear the the wind chimes? It's a really windy day, so our wind chimes on the balcony are going absolutely bonkers. So we'll start over here with the month title, of course. That should be all the stamps for this page done. So we're doing good. We're on to the decorating phase, which is always hard. All right. Oh, sorry for being in India. This tripod has thrown me off a little. All right. Our theme for August, I have decided, is limons. It's specifically lemonade, not lemons. But I do have some lemons cut out, of course. Let's see, if I put that down there, that's pretty cute, right? Oh, and I also have, of course, lots of like flowers and stuff that are pretty universally useful. I kind of want white or yellow flowers, but I don't really know if I have that many of them. I have this like orangey one, which could fit in well with the theme. We'll make do with what we've got. Like right there is probably good. I usually like split one of these little decorative elements across the month title, but I don't think I'm gonna do that this time. Like I feel like the pattern itself is definitely good enough. I think maybe I'll put this one like over here. And then we're definitely gonna use the other half of that sticker somewhere else on this page. There we go. That filled in that little bit of space quite nicely. I definitely want to place something there, but I think I want to put like this little lemony pattern underneath it. That, and then we'll pop this little lemon right there. There's kind of not enough contrast now, so maybe I'll put like a little, we're definitely getting somewhere. Maybe I could use this long strip like here. Yeah. I also have my bee stamp, which I'm open to using again, because this is very like, ooh, I threw my glue right at myself. My goodness. Got a bit too enthusiastic, a bit too worked up. I do have some of these cute little white flowers as well that we could sprinkle in. The thing about these stickers, I like them, I just think they have way too much of a border. So I like to trim them a little bit before I place them down. I like a little bit of white, but too much and they just feel like they're taking up so much more space than they should. So now we have to add in at least 2 more of these white flowers. And I remember that these are stickers, haha. See that? Retaining information? You wish you could. You wish you could retain information. But alas. Now I just have to figure out what I'm doing over here on this side. And I feel like we need something else down here. So I have, let's see. Do I have any stamps that give off kind of a lemony vibe? I have a bee stamp. Put a bee stamp right there. Yoink. Balance in our bees. Which means obviously I have to use my bee stamp. Look, I got bee stamps and bee stamps. I don't know what you want from me. Oh, I haven't done my yes no stamps. I think that looks nice. Adds a little bit more down there. And then I definitely want another one of these white flowers. And then if I put like a bee there, doink. And then another bee there. I considered doing it in red, but I feel like that's just not really the vibe of this spread. Yoink! A bee! Another bee. There's my bees. I've used bees on the last couple spreads, I think. It's definitely more of a lemon spread than a lemonade spread, but you know. I didn't print enough ice cubes, okay? Do I have anything? I totally didn't get glue on the table just now. Don't tell my boyfriend, please. I do want to save some of the bees because I eventually want to do a bee themed spread. Like black and white and honey and bees. Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite spread that I've ever done. It feels a little bit on the messy side. Actually, I don't know. It's pretty on par with my other ones. Yeah, I guess it's not too bad. I came around on that pretty quick. Okay, so I am going to change my camera battery and pop you into voiceover for the reviews for all of the books that I read this month. Welcome to the voiceover portion of the video. So I actually managed to do most of my reviews for this one without going into too many spoilers, but there will be some spoilers. I'll say it out loud, and also just so you know, there will be this sound that plays, and this icon will be on screen for the duration of the spoilers, so if you would like to skip ahead, keep an eye out for that. My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. My Best Friend's Exorcism is about Abby and Gretchen, and they've been best friends ever since the 5th grade. However, on one night, when the girls drop acid, Gretchen runs off into the forest, and when she comes back, she seems changed. Gretchen acts really differently, and as the strange behavior begins to pile up and affect the people around them, Abby realizes that there's only one explanation. Gretchen has been possessed by a demon, and Abby is the only one that can save her. Just to warn you, just a trigger warning, this review and the book in general are going to have a lot to do with sexual assault and rape. I'm really sorry. It is what it is. I was really looking forward to my best friend's Exorcism. I've heard really good things, and I've picked it up a few times in bookstores, and then I finally managed to get it at the library, so I was really excited. It didn't live up to expectations at all. I'm thinking maybe that Grady Hendrix just might not be the author for me. I'll give him one more chance. I've heard that How to Sell a Haunted House is pretty good, but this one was rough. I'm not saying that the book was completely irredeemable or anything like that. I'm just incredibly frustrated with the sexual assault aspect of the plot. I'm gonna go into some spoilers, light spoilers, I don't know. If you'd like to remain unspoiled, please be aware. I wouldn't say that it's a spoiler to mention that Gretchen, the titular best friend, becomes possessed by a demon. That's not a spoiler at all. It's mentioned in the title, it's mentioned in the description. But as the possession is beginning to take hold, Gretchen is sort of rambling and acting strangely towards Abby, and through her rambling, Abby gets the idea that Gretchen was sexually assaulted on that night that they dropped acid, and that's why she's changed, because she's like not showering, she's self-harming, she's acting out sort of sexually, and so it's not an out of left field assumption that Gretchen might have been sexually assaulted. Grady Hendrix is a man, and in both of his books that I've read, rape has been a main plot point. I'm not saying that as a man you can't write about rape, you can. It's also not uncommon in the horror genre. I just don't think that Hendrix treats it with the gravity that one should while writing about the topic, especially in this novel. Abby tries to do the right thing. She tries to tell Gretchen's ultra-conservative Christian parents about it, and they accuse Abby of trying to slander Gretchen's reputation, and they kick Abby out. She also tries to tell a teacher, another authority figure, and gets the same response. Everyone ostracizes Abby. Teachers, friends, parents, and this plot point ends with Abby just deciding that the best thing to do is to keep her mouth shut about it. What is Hendrix trying to say with this plot point? It is the 80s, and I understand that sexual assault wasn't treated the same way back then. However, this plot point is very serious for the ultimate answer in the book to just be Abby ruined her life trying to help her friend who she thought was raped, and everything would have worked out the same or better if she hadn't said anything. I would also like to remind you that Gretchen wasn't raped. I don't understand why this plot point is in the story. It was so frustrating to see everyone around these teenagers do nothing except brush it under the rug. I don't know, I could accept maybe if the whole story was coming to a point about it. If maybe the story was fully a metaphor about sexual assault utilizing the framing of a demonic possession, maybe that would be okay, but I don't think that happened. I think it was kind of just a straightforward demonic possession thing after the sexual assault stuff. I'm getting upset, so my little dog is coming to say hello.
Don't be mad, Mommy. You're so right. You're so right, little dog. Mwah, I love you so much, but Mommy gotta finish the review.
100% of the Grady Hendrix books I've read so far have involved rape, and it starts to feel a little weird coming from anyone if all of your books contain rape, but especially a male author. I don't know, it icks me out, man. and there was no point. If you can use anything other than rape, don't use rape. It's just for shock value. There were some parts I actually enjoyed about the novel. I think that the way Gretchen's possession progressed was really unique from what I've seen in other demonic possession stories. The way Gretchen was being used as a vessel to not only inflict pain on herself, but also those around her, her family, her friends, it was really fascinating to witness. It seems realistic as to why a demon would actually possess a person in the first place. I also loved the Christian strongmen. That actually threw me back to my childhood. There was a group of these guys who would tour my church once every couple years or so. I actually have a signed bandana from these dudes. I wish I could remember what they were called. Shout out Freight Train, I think you were my favorite. Those guys were great, and I thought it was a really funny thing to add to the story. The ending was also interesting. The answer wasn't religion, but instead friendship, and I think the author did a great job setting up Gretchen and Abby to the point where I found their friendship really sweet and believable, and the way they ended up was really heartwarming as well. I'll give it to Hendrix. His writing is good. It's gross and horrifying, but I wouldn't say I was scared. The worm thing was basically the worst of it. Oh, and also dog death. Sorry. I usually don't enjoy animal death, and I thought this one was really unnecessary. It was done to shock the reader, but I was not shocked at all. I wasn't particularly impressed by it either. It's like, if this isn't even gonna make me like scared or surprise me, then it's just there for no reason. I wasn't even that sad because the second the dog was introduced, I was like, he's gonna kill the dog, you know? It's like, at this point, it's so cliche that it's not even horrifying. I just wouldn't recommend this one. Maybe if you have some nostalgia around the original 1980s Exorcist movie, but I wasn't even alive when that movie came out. So the cover absolutely slaps though. Whoever designed this cover to look like a VHS cover, I love you and I think you deserve a massive raise. I gave My Best Friend's Exorcism 2 stars. They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is a story told from two perspectives. Scarlett Clark, who is an English professor at Gorman University, and Carly Schiller, who is a freshman Gorman student. Scarlett is a very interesting character. Every year, she finds the worst man at Gorman University and kills him. She's also so meticulous and detail-oriented that she's never been caught. However, somebody new starts probing into the deaths, Dr. Mina Pierce, and she is starting to uncover links that Scarlett would really rather have stay hidden. Carly is basically just trying to survive her freshman year. She meets up with a very interesting girl, Allison Hadley. She basically doesn't know if she wants to be Allison or wants to be with Allison, but then Allison is sexually assaulted at a party, and Carly becomes obsessed with making the attacker pay. My review on this one is actually going to be really short. I really liked this book, and I think if you know my taste by now, you're completely unsurprised. A story about a woman revenge killing men who deserve it, a great twist, and a little bit of sapphic sprinkle on top. Yeah, this is definitely a new favorite. I feel like I can't really talk about a lot of the things I enjoyed with this novel without spoiling some of my favorite parts, so again, I'm going to keep this very short. I will say that this is one of the best twists that I've read all year, maybe ever. There were so many little hints towards it, but just as many red herrings and redirections, and I can say I completely did not see it coming. I was actually really shocked and surprised. I really like Scarlett as a character. She's a very smart protagonist. She's so detail-oriented, and she's also extremely in the right. I mean, she kills rapists and domestic abusers and all sorts of horrible, stalkery, terrible men. Rape revenge stories get a lot of criticism, and a lot of the time that's for a very good reason. Until very recently in media history, the person getting revenge was typically not the woman, but instead a male relative or loved one, her husband, her father, her brother, etc. There's a much more personal sense when the character seeking this revenge is a woman. And more than that, Scarlett is seeking revenge in a very cold way, is probably the best way I could describe it. She's many years detached from her own experiences, and so she's able to get away with murder again and again because she doesn't have this emotional reaction to it. It's very cold, detail-oriented, planned. It's very advanced, that kind of thing. It's a take I haven't personally seen before. If you know more books that do this, I would love to read them, so comment below. Carly's storyline, by comparison, is a little less interesting, but that's because it's very difficult to compete with serial killer trying to avoid detection. Her story is about friendship, specifically female friendship, and the complexities of how friendship can be changed negatively by men. I think there's a lot to say about how, without the actions of the men around them, Carly and Allison could have been very happy together as best friends or even as girlfriends. But the men around them, and not even the men that are specifically evil, contribute to this degradation of their friendship. I don't want to spoil any more of this book because I truly believe you should read it. I was concerned because I generally don't like reading about sexual assault, but if you also have that worry, I would say I think it's handled pretty well and nothing is super explicit. I listened to the audiobook and I would highly recommend it. The narrator does a great job, especially with the voice for Scarlett. I found her very believable. I gave They Never Learn 5 stars. Woohoo! 5-star book. All's Well by Mona Awad. This is a story about Miranda Fitch, a drama professor at a university whose life is a waking nightmare. She has intense, unending chronic back pain, hip pain, leg pain, which led to her marriage falling apart and caused her to develop an addiction to painkillers. Because of all of this, she is very close to losing her job as the theater director at her university. Miranda desperately wants to put on Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well, but her cast wants to put on Macbeth. Control is slipping through Miranda's fingers when she meets 3 strange benefactors who know all about Miranda's past and can promise her everything she ever wanted if she puts on her production of All's Well That Ends Well. They just want to see a good show. After meeting these men, Miranda discovers a very strange ability that might change her life forever. I'm gonna start up this review with some personal stuff about me, so I'm sorry if you want to get right to the point. I am someone who suffers with chronic pain. Just this week I had a flare-up that was so intense that it yanked me into a very deep depression. I couldn't stop crying about how I was going to be feeling this pain for the rest of my life, how I couldn't do everything that other people could do, and how it must be so hard for my boyfriend to deal with living with someone who can't go to the beach without needing to lay in bed for days afterwards. I am 23 years old. Needless to say, this book hit me really hard. I was only around a chapter into the story when I turned to my boyfriend and I said, I know that Mona Awad has chronic pain. She writes it like only a chronic pain sufferer would understand. And when I got to the end of the book and read her author's note, I found that she did have very similar pain to the character that she wrote. Anyone who experiences that pain can see how true and honest her portrayal is. This is a minor spoiler, but partway through the book, Miranda, our main character, gains the ability to transfer her pain to others, and it takes hers away. When I read all the things that Miranda was glad she could do again, standing and sitting without pain, dancing, I cried. I understood her so well, and I thought about how if I could, I would give my pain away in a heartbeat, even if it was selfish and someone else had to feel it. It's impossible to describe how trapped you feel in your own body when you have a pain like this. Nothing ever helps. Heating pads, yoga, ice packs, ibuprofen, injection, ergonomic chairs, acupuncture, meditation, nothing works. It's so defeating and it makes you kind of unpleasant to be around. Not only is it hurting you, but it destroys your relationships. Sorry, I can't help you move. I'm having a bad pain day, so I can't go to the park with everyone. Sorry, I snapped at you, I slept wrong, and now my back hurts 1,000 times more than usual. It makes you sad and bitter and mean and depressed, and it's understandable that it wrecks relationships just like it did between Miranda and her husband. I also found it very relatable that people don't believe you really, especially when you used to be perfectly able-bodied. It is what it is, but no one ever really believes it. They think you're being lazy or making excuses or it couldn't possibly be that bad. The opportunity that Miranda is presented with to show people how bad it is, how much she's been pushing through, and how hard it takes these people out of commission. The people she uses it on, they're bedbound, and Miranda has been going to work every single day, you know? It's this horrible, mean revenge wish fulfillment that I think every chronic pain sufferer absolutely wants. It's the worst feeling when people don't believe you, and I really like the bitterness that Miranda has because no one was really trying to help or accommodate her. They just saw her as a burden or an obstacle. With all this praise, you might be wondering why I'm going to rate it lower than you might expect. The climax of this book is a little too out there for me. I usually enjoy Awad's surrealism, but I think this one was too disjointed. There wasn't a lot of flow from one thing to another. It felt really long and drawn out. I don't know. The climax is staged like a play with an audience, and I think that's a no-brainer because Miranda is a stage actress. It just didn't work for me. I understood it symbolically in a lot of ways, but it wasn't enjoyable or particularly exciting for me to read. I found myself, when I was about halfway through, wondering when it was going to be over, and I don't think that that's a good thing for a climax. I was extraordinarily impressed with the choice that Miranda made in the end, and I don't think I would have made the same choice. I don't know. It's a hard one to make. I also wish that I understood Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well a little bit more than I did. I think it would really add to the experience of reading this book if you've read the play or studied the play, but it is sort of a more obscure one, so I wouldn't be surprised if a majority of the audience who have read this book haven't read the play or seen the play. Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well is described as a problem play, which is a play that is neither a comedy nor a tragedy. It doesn't really fit into either structure, and I like that the book mirrors that problem play's structure. I'm just not enough of a Shakespeare nerd to get it. Awad's writing is, as always, so layered and dense. I love it, and it makes me exhausted at the same time. I think she's easily one of my favorite authors to read, and especially to talk about, even if I don't always enjoy the books themselves. I can't wait for her next one. I'm really excited. I gave All's Well 3.5 stars. Girl Falling by Haley Scrivenor. This is an ARC. I got an ARC from NetGalley for this book, so thank you so much to Flatiron Books and NetGalley for this advanced reader copy. Our story begins with Finn, her girlfriend Magdu, and Finn's close best friend Daphne going rock climbing. This is Magdu's first climb ever, but unfortunately things go very wrong and Magdu plummets to her death. Police sweep in to investigate if this was a tragic accident or if foul play was involved. I think the bare bones of this mystery are very interesting, but unfortunately due to the nature of the mystery, it's not actually a very fun read. It's difficult to explain the issues with the book without spoiling it, and I don't do that with advanced reader copies. I try not to spoil anything that's not already in the book description. You'll have to forgive me if it seems like I'm trying to talk around certain topics or plot points. We essentially get to see two different timelines. We get to see the present tense with the police investigation and Finn dealing with the death of Magdu, and we also get to see the beginning and evolution of Finn and Magdu's relationship, and we also get to see Finn and Daphne's relationship. I like Finn and Magdu as a couple, and I buy their chemistry. They also face quite a bit of conflict because they're gay women. Magdu's family would not be okay with her dating a woman. This is a pretty stereotypical conflict for a lesbian couple to face, so it's not like it's entirely interesting to read about, but it's not uncommon or unrealistic, so it's not like it's a bad thing. It's just kind of a boring conflict. The other primary conflict that Magdu and Finn have is Daphne, and this is a much more interesting one. Daphne and Finn have been close for years, and Magdu often feels like she's on the outside of their relationship. Additionally, because Finn is gay, there's this sort of, I don't know, almost jealousness or possessiveness. It's hard to say. It's like there's definitely you get the vibe that there's a sexual or at least romantic history between Daphne and Finn, and that's upsetting to Magdu. Daphne is also kind of strange. She's, again, manipulative and possessive, so it provides some really interesting tension, especially in retrospect, because Daphne is the one who suggested the climb. We get this sense that maybe Daphne was trying to show up Magdu or scare her off or something like that, something maybe even more sinister because of Magdu's death. As I said, the central mystery is really interesting, and as the story progresses, we get hints as to what could have happened to Magdu, the people around them who could have had it out for them, and both Finn and Daphne's pasts. However, a ton of the page count is filled with things that are frankly completely irrelevant. Finn gets her period, and it's totally not plot relevant. Finn is constantly speaking in her internal monologue about a sore tooth that she has. It opens a little lead into the mystery, but is ultimately irrelevant. Finn begs to see Magdu's body for so many pages, and it leads to nothing, really. Obviously, it's emotionally driven for Finn, but it's not like it leads to any clues or hints about the mystery. There is a reason why Finn can't really investigate or tell the audience about any clues that she's found. There's a reason we don't see Finn hunting down suspects and informing the police about what she's found. There is a reason that the story stagnates so hard, but that literally relates to who is ultimately found responsible. I can't spoil the twist. I can tell you, I saw it coming, and I thought it was a little interesting and shocking. However, that doesn't mean that the rest of the story was good in retrospect. The issue is that Finn is our POV character, and seeing things through her eyes just doesn't work. I realize that Scrivener was trying to do something unique, and I applaud that, I just don't think it worked. If you look at it as more of a literary exploration of codependency, or maybe a deep dive into Finn as a character, you might enjoy this book a lot more than I did. If you're looking for a mystery, I think you might end up disappointed. Girl Falling by Hayley Scrivener releases on March 11th, 2025, and unfortunately, I gave it 1 star. The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. Kara is a recently divorced woman who has moved back to her hometown to work at her uncle's museum, the Wonder Museum, which is filled with all sorts of oddities. Lots of taxidermy, lots of strange artwork, things that may or may not be real. However, one day when she's working the shop alone, she discovers a hole in the wall that leads somewhere impossible. It's a concrete bunker with a huge steel door bolted shut on one side and a very dead body on the other. Kara can't stop her curiosity and she wants to explore what's beyond the door. But that might be a horrible idea. I've heard really great things about T. Kingfisher's writing, but I've mostly heard about What Moves the Dead. It's got a massive hold length at my local library, so while I was waiting, I decided to pick up The Hollow Places, and I can understand where the hype comes from. I really enjoyed Kingfisher's writing style. Her character's dialogue specifically was fantastic. I thought it was witty and endearing without having that overly quippy style that's really easy to fall into. Like I said, Kara works in the Wonder Museum, and I completely love the Wonder Museum as a setting. It's so bizarre that it creates the atmosphere for the rest of the weirdness that goes on later in the story. It also felt incredibly real, like Kingfisher really enjoys these little oddity museums. I like though that the museum isn't necessarily considered frightening for Kara because it's so familiar. She's been around it her entire life, so even though it's kind of like freaky and weird, it's extremely familiar to her. The story really starts when a hole is punched in the wall and we see the dead body and the padlocked steel door, and this premise is so intriguing. I was totally hooked. Kara and the coffee shop owner next door, with the eye of his twin that he absorbed in the womb, yes, it really is that surreal, exit the bunker and find themselves in a different dimension. I actually can't describe myself as scared while reading Hollow Places, but I was completely overcome with this intense, stomach-churning feeling of dread. I was so concerned about them getting stuck in infinitely hopping dimensions and never getting home. It's such a deep-rooted fear in so many people, including myself. Kara is a very smart character, and she tries to do everything right, which I really appreciated. She marks her path, she finds landmarks, and she doesn't take risks. It's really nice to have a clever character at the helm in one of these stories. The threat in the other world is them, with a capital T. It was so cosmically horrifying. I really like that we didn't get many answers on what they were, what they want, or the other dimension. It's extremely classic cosmic horror to drop a character in an insane, mind-bending scenario and then send them home extremely changed and with no answers. The way they are described is also pretty fascinating and cosmic, of course. They're basically incomprehensible to human eyes, so they're described as like the blank space between the branches or an oppressive size passing closely by but invisibly. It makes them feel so unfamiliar that it invokes more fear of them. Plus, every single thing we hear them doing is the most horrifying thing you can imagine. I'm literally never gonna stop thinking about the organs guy. Ew. Actually, super ew. Very gross. Ew. I also cried at the ending of the book. It's so clear that Kara cares about the Wonder Museum so much, Prince and all the other animals, and it was so completely fulfilling that the Wonder Museum loved her back. After years of love and care, when it really mattered, the Wonder Museum had her back, and it made me cry a lot, because, I don't know, there's something about that that's it's so heartbreaking, but in a good way. If you're the kind of person who's okay with not receiving all of the answers, and you would like a really great modern Lovecraftian story, I would highly recommend The Hollow Places. Just be warned, it can be a little bit graphic at times, but in the best ways. I gave The Hollow Places 4.5 stars. Inferno by Dante Alighieri. Obviously, I don't have to tell you that much about Dante's Inferno. It's incredibly famous for good reason. Dante's Inferno was a poem written around the year 1300, though there is some debate on when the poem was actually written. It is essentially about Dante, the poet, having to walk through hell because his love, Beatrice, came down as an angel to entreat Dante to change his ways, because as is, Dante is not getting into heaven. So Dante has to walk through Inferno, Purgatory, and also Paradise in order to document it, bring it back to Earth and write about it, and also change his ways so he can get into heaven. Dante is where the 9 circles of hell come from, and I read a really great translation from Project Gutenberg, where the translator actually took some liberties to maintain the rhyme scheme of the poem, because originally in Italian, the poem did rhyme, so it had a certain cadence to it that this translator managed to keep, and I really appreciated that. I read Inferno because I am doing some ink-based illustrations based off of the cantos of the Inferno, so look forward to that. I really don't have that much to say about Inferno. It's difficult to rate books like this because if I rate it based purely on my enjoyment, I gave it 3 stars because it's fine, but so much of Inferno is Dante just pointing to people who are in hell and being like, he's in hell, you know? Pointing to political figures that he doesn't like and being like, now you're in hell in my book, ha ha ha. Or talking about Florence, because at the time Florence was sort of in the middle of, I hesitate to call it a civil war, but definitely civil unrest. There were 2 factions, the blacks and the whites, in Florence who were fighting for control, and Dante had actually been banished from Florence at this time, and so there was some emotionality to realizing that like Dante has been banished and he's still so worried about his home and his country that it's all that he can think about when he's going through hell. I appreciate that on a certain level. Also, obviously, Dante's creative interpretations, fictional interpretations of what hell is like have become quite iconic, especially, again, the 9 circles. I might talk more about each individual canto as I'm doing my illustrations for them, but I will say that, you know, for the most part, it was enjoyable. I had a good time reading it, and obviously, I can't say anything that 1,000 college lectures about Dante's Inferno haven't said. This is a very intense book with a lot of history attached, so I gave it 3 stars, but, like, it's hard to rate because it's so iconic, you know? The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. This is a story about Elsie, who is recently married to Rupert Bainbridge. However, before they could move in together and start their life, weeks after their marriage, Rupert is dead. Elsie has to move to the Bainbridge estate in the country, even though some things about the house seem off. She starts hearing strange hissing, scratching noises in the middle of the night coming from behind a locked door, and when they open it, inside they find a painted wooden figure known as a Silent Companion, and a couple volumes of the diary of Anne Bainbridge, who previously lived at Bainbridge Manor in the 1600s. Something about the figures seems unsettling, and more of them start to appear around the house. I liked the Silent Companions quite a lot. Again, the story follows 3 different timelines. It sort of follows Elsie in the mental ward after the events of the story under suspicion of several deaths. The second timeline is Elsie in the past, moving into her new home in the countryside as a recent widow. And the third is the diary of Anne Bainbridge, a previous lady of the house. I enjoyed all 3 timelines, and I think each of them was well paced. The tension escalated well over the course of each timeline, and none of them really dragged. The titular companions are quite interesting as part of the novel. The companions are actually a real thing that exist, though these days they're more commonly referred to as dummy boards. The companions are full-sized, realistically painted wooden portraits that are meant to look like a person is standing there. It's supposed to be like a little joke. They did a great job at building the tension, and I think even without the supernatural aspects, companions would be really creepy. I liked a lot more of the horrifying hints about them, like the splinters and what happens to them after they were burned, etc. The writing was very good. I really enjoyed the atmosphere that was built. The town is so like mired and foggy. It really sells this depressive, oppressive feeling that Elsie experiences, especially after the death of her husband, William. She really loved him, you know? I'm not an expert, but it seems like the author really knows her stuff about the 1800s and the 1600s. Everything from the fashion to the home decor to the structure of what a wealthy household is like felt realistic and well researched. I'm always fascinated by the rules that used to be in place. For example, Elsie has really strict social rules about what she can wear after the death of her husband, and it's just kind of fascinating to see how different things used to be. The scenes in the mental hospital were compelling. I really felt hope that Elsie might be able to find someone to care about her and believe her story, and the doctor was a character we didn't see a huge amount of, but I really enjoyed him as a character and his methodology towards mental health. There were a few things that stopped this from being 5 stars that mostly have to do with the diary timeline. I ended up a little bit confused about the character of Hedda, so this is probably going to be the biggest spoiler section of this video, so spoilers. Hedda Bainbridge is Anne Bainbridge's daughter, and she's the youngest of the family. Hedda was born with an underdeveloped tongue, and as such, she is mute. It's revealed to us that Anne is actually some kind of witch. She has a very developed intuition, bordering on the ability to read minds, and she creates like white magic potions and brews for luck and prosperity. We find out that after the birth of her youngest son, Anne suffered from a condition that would not allow her to have any more births, but she desperately wanted a girl, so she performed a ritual to bring Hedda into the world. Hedda seems like a very normal girl, but I think the implication is that Hedda is evil from the start and soulless because she was created by Anne and not by God. However, we never really see Hedda doing anything evil until after she suffers a very hurtful rejection by her father and her family. To me, it seems like Hedda was triggered by this into evil, and she goes on to kill a lot of people, even poisoning some of them herself. Hedda also ends up being the ultimate evil in the present timeline. She is in control of the companions, and she possesses someone who testifies against Elsie with lies. I guess that Hedda really was evil and a demon all this time, but I don't really feel like that makes a lot of sense. It's really hard to put into words. Maybe if Hedda had been showing more signs of being evil, it wouldn't have felt so out of left field, but she was just a normal little girl who couldn't speak. It's also weird that this backwards thought that people with deformities were of the devil is just fully confirmed by this narrative. I really wanted to feel for Hedda because she didn't deserve her rejection, but also her response to it is so out of proportion. It's also implied that Hedda was planning to kill the queen's queen's horse, and she specifically befriended a Romani boy to take the fall for her, but she hadn't experienced the rejection from her family yet. Was he just a convenient fall guy, or was Hedda really planning the attack all along? She was growing poisonous herbs that ended up killing all the staff, so maybe she always was evil. I don't know, I just didn't really think that Hedda was set up as evil enough to kill like 50 people. It felt weird. Also, I would like to say, there is a lot of uses of the G slur in this book, but that is of the time, you know, the slur for Romani people. It's of the time, but it is uncomfortable, so if you don't like that, sorry. Overall, I really enjoyed The Silent Companions. I would recommend it if you like historical tragedies and haunted old houses. Again, the atmosphere was great, and Elsie was a good, driven protagonist. I'm not sure how I felt about some of the aspects of her backstory, specifically having to do with her father and Joylin, but I don't think it detracted from the story. I think maybe it was supposed to give us this idea of like, is Elsie actually crazy or is she not crazy? But I feel like it was pretty strongly set up by the narrative that Elsie is not crazy and what's happening is actually happening, you know? So I don't know if that was really necessary. I don't know. Maybe it was. If you read it, let me know. I would say that this is the perfect spooky autumn read, so yeah, I would really recommend. I gave The Silent Companions 4 stars. And that is all for me. I will send you back to me who is doing my journal. Bye-bye! Sorry for the lighting change. The sun went down. So I want to do our fun little collage here. And let's see. This is the image I have for our central collage. Really? The second I sit down, my little dog decides it's time for a ground munch. I picked this image specifically because it wasn't overtly yellow, because all of my like little lemony add-ons are very yellow. So I picked this sort of like white-ish lemonade. Also, I'm cold, so if you hear me shivering, I'm sorry. Burn. A burn. This is gonna go right there. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna rip the corner of this a little bit. And I think I'm gonna put this like fun plaid pattern right up here at the top. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I do have some more lemons and lemons. And then here along the bottom, I'll do some of this like paper. I cut this unevenly because I'm a scrub. I apologize for being a giant scrub. How could I? Ooh, maybe it's like, oh yeah, that's cute. That's cute. We'll put the like orangey flowers up here at the top, I think. But I kind of want to put down the like title section first. So let's do that. So this is gonna go like right up at the top here. Our trash man cometh, and the dogs are very upset about it. They do not like that shit. And actually, I think our trash man is a trash woman, so sorry that they're being loud. They're just doing their job. It's okay. And I'm just doing my job that I definitely get paid for. Yoink. Speaking of getting paid, I think technically you can super chat if you're really enjoying the video. I should mention, I always forget to mention like all the monetization stuff that has to do with my channel. So you can, I believe, super chat now if you want your comment to have a fun little indicator that you super chatted on it. And also I think my Patreon is in the description. I'm trying to spell and it's hard. I think my Patreon is in the description of this video. I upload there quite a bit. There should be like a good backlog of exclusive content if you're interested in stuff like that. So yeah, don't mind me shilling for myself. Somebody's gotta do it. And yeah, this is a little bit off center. But what are you gonna do about it? Nothing. That actually looks good. So let's see, I wanted like this real bright lemony lemon over on the side here. And then these flowers can like fill in the space there. Let's do that. There we go. Not a bad. Then just the snippiest of snippies. Perfect. So let's see, do I want this little thing in that corner or that corner? What do we think? Left or right? Left or right? I feel like it looks better in the right. Ah, shoot. I completely misjudged that and did like an entire stripe of glue on the table. Whoops. You know how it is. You're just a little crazy. You get glue everywhere. It's fine. We don't have to tell my boyfriend. Please. Lemon texture at the top. And then of course we have to add it in a couple more places. Like right here. And maybe like a little corner of it here. And then maybe we can add in 1 or 2 of those like white flowers. Or like 1 of these guys. Turns out when you cut away the part of the sticker that you're supposed to peel from, it becomes harder to peel the stickers. Who would have thunk that? I feel like this looks pretty good. Lots of texture, lots of different size stickers. Ooh, you know what we should totally add? We should add a bee. Let's add a bee right here. Yeah. It's just like the ghost of a bee. I regret that. I think that does not look good. That's okay though. We're allowed to do things that don't look great. We're allowed to mess up. Last set of pages, we just gotta do the stats page. Now, I did mess up, so I'm going to have to reprint part of the stats page. So as usual, we do books read and pages read up at the top, and then right underneath that we do average length. Then below that we do genre, and then underneath that we do format and source. The issue is that I messed up with the format. I have it saying that I did all ebooks when actually I listened to 1 audiobook. So this is a little bit of a mess up. I might, see the thing is I can either reprint it or I can just like try to make it work. And I might just try to make it work because I don't know if it's worth it to me to reprint it. This page is always kind of just whatever scrappies I have left, so it typically doesn't look as well put together as the other pages. Trying to be a little bit speedy because I don't really want to have to replace my battery again. Ooh, you can't even see. I've got it pushed up too far. Then underneath that, of course, we're going to include our little average length strip. So if I do this, I can essentially make that the little audiobook segment for this month, right? It follows the curve well enough, right? And then when we glue it in, we'll add a little tab for audiobooks. I think that works out pretty well. Oh, my goodness. We're out of glue. I'm so glad I have an extra, otherwise this would be really annoying to finish. Reloading. I don't really have any like little glue, little accessories. That's not the right word, but it's the only word that's coming to mind. I don't have like any little lemons or ice cubes left that I can glue in, so that is definitely better than reprinting the whole thing. Now I do have some of these cute little light colored flowers. Maybe I could pop this one in there. That's cute. I must have used a lot of my lemons on that first page. I had 3 round lemons and 3 square wedge lemons. So 1 wedge, 1 round. Yep, 2 wedges, 2 rounds. Did use a lot of them on that first page apparently. A little wrinkly, but I don't think you can tell. I think only I can tell because I'm... What we need to add in now is our stamps. Yoink, my stamps. The number of books I read this month was 7. Boink, that seems to be my average. Now to add up how many pages read. So in total, I read 2,363 pages. That is 337 pages on average. I don't think this is the first time we've had that as our average number. As for the genres, I read 3 thrillers, 3 horrors, 1 fantasy, 1 historical fiction, 2 literary fiction, and 1 poetry. In case you're confused about that, I go by the first 2 genres that are listed. So if it's a historical thriller, then it goes in both historical fiction and thriller. Genre. I think this page is looking not too bad. I'm pretty satisfied with my solution to the error there. God, I know you're glued down. I know you are, but please. Aha! Just like slip this little bright piece of orange, lemon yellow under there. I dropped my thingy on the ground. Hopefully one of my dogs doesn't eat it and die. last page, and then we'll do our flip through. It's my best and worst of the month and my ratings. I'm gonna pop that like right in the middle, and then across the top, I'm gonna put like one of those strippies. No, I ripped it. Ah. I think I want that up in that corner. Maybe something smaller. So now we're gonna place in our best and worst. Best of the month, obviously, was They Never Learn. And unfortunately, my worst, I'm actually just gonna put them down a little lower. My worst of the month is Girl Falling. I gotta come up with a better solution than that next year. This was 1 star, and this was 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very polarizing month, I suppose. And then down here at the bottom, we're just gonna have, oh! Give me a heart attack, why don't you? My goodness. You scared me so bad.
I actually heard that.
What, that you scared me?
Yeah, I heard you go, whoop.
Good to know if anyone's breaking into the house, I'll alert them that I'm here and frightened. I don't know if I've ever put anything in this note slot. I just have it here to make myself feel better. To fill up a little bit of space. Oh wait, found it, haha. It's kind of just a stick, but I don't know. Maybe it fill in this space kind of nicely. I don't know, I feel like it adds a little something. And I think we're done. Should I add a B? What a silly question. Of course I should add a B. Bonk. Ah, my thing, I almost dropped it. All right, so now we're gonna fill in the front pages of the books, starting here with our 5-star books and our book battle. I did get another 5-star book this month. I got They Never Learn, and that's by Fargo. I might have to leave a bigger space for that next year. I wasn't sure I would get 7 5-star books, and I've already filled in 4, so I don't know, I might run out of space. For the best book I read this month, it's probably no surprise that it is They Never Learn, considering I did just rate it 5 stars. So that one's going in my August slot for best book. I think it's a little small. I think maybe I made it too small. Oh. Nah, it's perfect. Look at that, perfect. I think for September we'll fill this in. That way we're not having to fill them all in December. But yeah, we're about to, that's a tough bracket because I like Mary and I like They Never Learn. I don't know who's gonna end up on top for that one. I'm very excited to find out. Next up is our A to Z challenge. I'm not sure we got anybody additional this month. Let me make sure. So starting off with My Best Friend's Exorcism by Hendrix. Yep, definitely not. They Never Learn, that's already filled in by Fargo. I already have Friend. All's Well, we already have. And also Mona Awad, we already have. G for Girl Falling by Haley Scrivenor, which we already have. The Hollow Places, ooh, we get to fill in that one. That's pretty exciting. The Hollow Places here in H, which means we get another heart. And then we have Inferno by Dante Alighieri, both of which are locked in. The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell, which is also locked in. So we only got one this month, but it did lead to a new heart. I think I'm out of heart stickers. I think I said that last time, but I suppose we'll find out. I think I'll probably just cut out this little pink heart here that's in the corner. We've got our little heart. Boink. That works out pretty well, I think. Let's see, how many slots do we still have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 titles. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 authors. 9 titles and 8 authors. We're getting down to the wire on here, I think. Next up, we have our Medical Examiners Challenge. Very fun. So I haven't included Dante's Inferno in this, just because I don't think that's necessarily fair. Because that was mostly real people. Not a new high score, but it was a respectable number nonetheless. Next up, in our Decades Challenge, we actually do have an entrant, though it was a bit of a surprise. They Never Learn actually partially takes place in 2004, I believe. So it counts for our 2000s category. And yet again, I accidentally fill in this slot. You'll love to see it. I'm still perfectly on track for the Decades Challenge without even trying. So that's pretty cool, I think. Next, this page is really falling apart. It's fine. Next, I have the Professor. Ooh, I should have made this one bigger. Oops, it's a little bit teeny. That's okay. It's a lot smaller than the other ones because I accidentally made it this height instead of this height. Yeah, that's okay. We're not worried about it. This one has a professor main character. Miranda Fitch is a drama professor, so that is how we're getting that one filled in. Sorry you're so tiny. I didn't even think about it. It's fine. I don't really have any new ones in the horror subgenre challenge. I'm not entirely worried about it because I'm going to be reading a lot of horror in October, so hopefully we'll fill this entire thing in October. Book bingo. What do we have for book bingo? Ooh, I actually don't know if Dante is on that list. I don't know what's on that list, so I guess I could put Dante in Should Have Read in School. It's kind of overly specific. Like I could have read it in university probably. I'll put it here. That's definitely if you're in like upper level college courses. I think that's all I got. These I really need to research better because I don't know if any have been Pulitzer Award or Hugo Award or whatever. And I don't necessarily know what year these books were published. I'm sure I could actually find it in the stats page. Let's go to thrillers. Can I put girl falling in a nature or wilderness setting? Because that starts with somebody falling off a cliff. I think I'm gonna count it, actually. It's definitely a bit of a stretch, but yeah. I think that's all I've got. I didn't read a lot of thrillers this month. I mostly read horror. TBR, I'm keeping up to date on myself. I do have to fill this in a little bit because I think I added some new stuff to my library TBR and I didn't actually fill it in here. So I'll have to do that. I'll just fill this one in real quick in time lapse. Okay, I think that's the end of my pages here. Yeah, I haven't started any other series. I'm not really a series reader. I'm kind of just a individual book reader, so I'm really not surprised that there aren't really any series. So I think that's just about the end. Let's do a little flip through of what we've done today while I send you off to my outro. And that is it for my reading wrap-up. Some really good books this month. I'm really pleased with having 5 stars to add to my list. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to see more from me, subscribe. I upload a few times a month. You'll hear me just like slowly going down from every week to almost every week to now I don't even know. Follow me on all my social media. I am After Plague pretty much everywhere. That is TikTok, Twitch, Goodreads, Storygraph, Instagram, and I am After_Plague on Twitter. I just became a YouTube partner. That's really exciting for me. So you can actually, I think, donate via Super Chats now. If you really, really like the video and you want to support me, absolutely no pressure whatsoever. I'm still trying to figure out this whole monetization thing. So thank you if you do, and if you don't, no worries at all. I'm just happy to have you here supporting. I have a shop. It is afterplagueart.myshopify.com. It's got my books on there. If you're a book lover and you like books, horror books, specifically illustrated horror books, you might like what I have on offer, so check it out, afterplagueart.myshopify.com. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you are reading some absolutely fantastic books in this post-plague world. Bye!